go in there with the guns and that and get them all down on the ground and get them into the room, make them squat, and just crouch into the room, get them on the floor, don't move, we'll blow your fucking head off, and fucking march the fucking manager or whoever, the people in the office to go out there and open up the safe and get the money, and off we went. Cash.
How many years did you spend in jail all up?
27.
Fuck, so I'm only 30, bro. So you've been in jail for the whole of my life kind of thing.
You're just a baby.
So like if someone's gay, you just flog them.
You go to the park where they all hang out of a night time, and then you kidnap them and extort them, take them back to their house, clean them right out and that, bash them. We'd go to the city and we'd see other gangs and we'd just smash them. We'd just wreck them.
Yeah, so you do your jail in Melbourne and then you get out?
I get out, I get shot.
What the fuck?
I get shot through the neck.
Really?
Yep.
Guys, welcome back to Project 23. We're here with Andrew Kirby, the real Romper Stomper. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down, bro.
You're welcome.
Now, your story, I've been doing a little research, man, and your story, like, it needs to be heard. It's a really, really interesting one. But firstly, what I picked up on is that you grew up in an area in Melbourne and then you went into a gang, and it's about racism or like what's the whole Nazi thing, and like let's get that out of the way and make sure that like the audience understands that we're not promoting that or pushing that upon.
Oh, definitely
that's
not.
the wrong.
I'm not racist.
Yeah. So what is that? What is this neo-Nazi thing? And let's move forward.
Well, Nazis were from World War II.
Yeah.
Neo meaning new.
Yeah.
So it was like the new Nazis that took off in the 70s or 60s after the World War II and things like that. And, skinheads, they shave their heads, they wear boots, braces, things like that. And it's just full racism, that's what the gang was. But we were against everybody and anything that moved.
So it's not just a certain race. It's because in the Romper Stomper movie, it's the Asians that you're kind of targeting in that point. So it's against everyone?
Yeah, it's against everyone. It's the blacks, the Jews, the Asians, anyone that's non-white. But essentially it didn't really matter to us. You know, it was our playground, Melbourne, and we just ran amok.
Yeah, and it's for anyone that's watching as well, I just want to make sure that like I do not support any of that stuff, and you're reformed and you've spent 30 years in jail, and I've got Andrew on here to kind of push this message.
Yep, that's right.
But this is kind of the foundation was, you were racist?
I wasn't. I was never a racist.
Okay.
I just joined the gang because I'd been bullied all my life. So why not join the bullies?
Yeah.
And, find security and protection in that than being bullied. So I just happened to find some people with some violence, but I got sexually assaulted while I was at the boys' home, and it just created a monster.
Yeah, we'll tap into that, but I just wanted to, so we're not promoting any of that. He's spent 30 years in jail and he's here to tell his story and share what's gone on. But that's kind of, when he talks about the gang that he was involved in, that's what it was against, and in no way, shape or form is that acceptable. That's kind of the message I wanted to start this with. Okay, so let's move on to you, Matt, your upbringing. Like, how was that?
I had two working parents. I played sports, was sports mad, me and my brother, and life was potentially pretty good. Played down the creek, did normal things, and then started getting bullied and things like that. I had an AFL career, potential, but I threw it all away. The kids were bullied me that much that there was no interest, and they wouldn't kick the football to me and things like that. So it just all went out the window. And
so you have two working parents.
Yep.
Stuff's all right at home. Like, was there any?
No, I got bullied at home.
Okay.
But growing up back then in the 70s and the 80s, that was just standard for everybody. So I wouldn't say that it was exceptionally bad. But the bullying at school, every 5 seconds you turn, there was something, and there was always anxiety, and there was just things going on all the time where I just couldn't function properly.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got a brother. I've got a younger brother now who's only 30, but I've got another brother that's 18 months younger than me.
Okay.
And he's an introvert sort of person, and he got picked on a lot, and I'd have to fight his battles plus my battles.
Yeah.
But I'd never fight back because we'd get in trouble if we fought back. But when I started throwing a few punches and hurting a few people, I realised, you know, I was pretty handy with my fists, and off she went.
So where does the bullying come from? From your parents or from your brother?
No, it come from my parents.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly my mum.
Okay.
But it just snowballed, you know, from that bullying at home to, and we were wrapped up in cotton wool as well, you know, so we were really sheltered. We didn't know much of the outside world, and you know, I was pretty naive in that. There was a prominent bike club that lived in the area, and all the bigger brothers, they used to like getting me over because I was just like a novelty because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
You know, and they used to joke with me and everything like that. But they were out doing their thing, and the younger kids and that, they got stuck into me. So.
Okay. So you've kind of went from being bullied at home to then how was school? That was no good either.
Well,
what are you getting bullied over, by the way?
Just in general, just not fitting in or coming from a different area into a different school in another area. And I'll give you an example. I had 6 kids hold me down, and one kid, like they were kicking and punching me, and then one kid threw a rock and smashed my head open and shit like that, you know. And then it just kept snowballing where my anxiety and everything just took over, and I couldn't function properly. And and you know, with my parents, the way that they were being fairly strict, like we weren't allowed to have our ear pierced or anything like that, and stuff like that, and just being really sheltered. So we got picked on for things like that, you know.
It brings out a lot of trauma. Like you say you get a fucking rock smashed over your head. It's like at a young age, like how old are you when this
11.
kind of... Yeah, 11.
Yeah, 11.
So you start not to trust people. You start not to believe in like the future, and then so through school, like what happened there? Did you like it at all, or were you just kind of...
No, I found it really easy, school, and I'd get bored real quick.
Yeah.
But because of the anxiety, I just couldn't function properly as a normal human being or a normal kid. I just couldn't get it together. I had fog in my head and everything was pretty cloudy. So
when you're saying anxiety back then, you're saying in the 70s and 80s, was that a word? Was that normal? Were you allowed to talk about, like, because you know it now as anxiety, but back then were you like, oh, I got anxiety, or was that not allowed to be spoken of?
No, you didn't talk about depression, anxiety and all that stuff. It wasn't sort of heard of, you know. There was just nothing like that. It was just you go out to work, you provide for your family, you know, and do all that sort of stuff. I spent a bit of time with my grandfather, and he made my grandmother breakfast in bed for 60-something years.
Yeah.
Didn't miss a day, so we were brought up like that. But he was a good man.
Yeah.
You know, and around him I could function normal, but outside of him, everything just went to shit.
Yeah. Okay.
And you didn't speak about things like that, issues like that. You just got up and on with it.
Yeah. Okay. So then going from school, you don't fit in. You're getting bullied, and then you go into... Where do you go from school? Do you get a job?
No, I just one day decided to grab my backpack and run away from home.
How old were you at this age?
13, 14.
Oh, so fuck, that's early on. So you're still in school and you've run away from home?
Yep, and run away from school. Just dropped everything, and then off I went.
Were you on drugs in that?
No.
No?
No drugs, no anything. I didn't even know what drugs were back then.
Okay, that's a good thing that you weren't on drugs, but then just fucking running away from home. So where do you go when you're running away from, like...
So I went into the city, and then from there I got out to St Kilda, which is like King's Cross.
Okay.
And, you know, at first there was a park and there was a mattress. I stayed on there for a little bit, and then I moved on to a squat and lived with some blokes that were in their 30s and late 20s and 30s, and They come to trust me. And I started running errands for the cafes.
So when you say squat, like is that like
an abandoned house?
Okay, so in the Romper Stomper movie, it kind of that becomes a normal thing where you're doing this like squatting stuff.
Yep.
There's a scene where like they say, "Get out of here," and
you
take over it.
We were just taking over places and that, kicking everyone out, destroying the house, like just smashing, just destroying the house. But the squat that I lived in when I was a kid was just a brick shell, and there was a fireplace and there was no floorboards or nothing. It was nothing.
How many people living in there?
There's about 6 or 7 of us.
And you're 13, 14, and then these guys are 30?
Yep.
And are you on, is there drug use happening? Does the drugs start? Like, were you ever on drugs?
I've binged on drugs throughout my life, but I've never been a continuous drug addict. I'd never used drugs in jail.
Yeah.
I've always remained straight, always been fitness fanatic.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was nothing to see chopper reed down the street. You know, as a kid.
This is a question because you say, Pentridge, you say that, and then in Chopper Reed, like he's in Pentridge prison, isn't he?
Yep.
And then you say in the interview H Division, and then he's talking about H Division. Like I kind of, there was a question in there. We'll get to that. So you're 13, 14. You're hanging around 30-year-olds. Are they doing drugs?
No, they were doing armed robberies.
Okay, so that was your drug.
Yep.
Okay, so you're that age in with these boys and then start learning the ropes of...
Yep, they started schooling me up with the armed robberies, and I was running, because they trusted me and telling the cafes I was a good kid, the cafes would get me to run parcels down to other people or things here and there, and money and drugs more than likely.
Yeah.
I'll never open the parcel.
Yeah.
But, you know, and from there I could be trusted, and I went on to armed robberies, and they were major armed robberies.
What are we talking when you say major?
Factories, yellow pay packets, all cash back then. So, you know, you'd hit a factory and, you know, there'd probably potentially be 20 upwards workers, and, you know, in the safe, after the pays had been dropped off and they're put in the safe and that, we'd go in there with the guns and that and get them all down on the ground and get them into the room, make them squat, you know, and just crouch into the room, get them on the floor, don't move, we'll blow your fucking head off, and fucking march the fucking manager or whoever, the people in the office, to go out there and open up the safe and get the money, and off we went. Cash.
When you say this, have you been in trouble for this shit, or is this...
Yeah, I've been pinched on. Everything that pretty much I go through is I've been pinched on.
How many years did you spend in jail all up?
27.
Fuck, so I'm only 30, bro. So you've been in jail for the whole of my life kind of thing.
You're just a baby.
That's like really... Like even the Romper Stomper movie was out before I was born.
Yeah,
two years before. Yeah, 2 years before I was born.
Yeah.
And now I'm here sitting talking about shit when like you were just running around the streets. And I couldn't imagine. I was actually sitting there a little bit upset. I was watching it with my friend last night, and I was thinking of like, there wouldn't have been much CCTV around that time.
Nothing.
So you're kind of just running around like the world without CCTV cameras. Like I only know it with CCTV cameras. So like I couldn't imagine what the human mind actually thinks that they can get away with without that. And then DNA as well. Well, like you're running around just fucking smashing shit up and robbing places. And how does the police catch you? Like
they catch us in the act doing armed robberies.
So you were that careless that you were just like, oh, let's go rob a warehouse, and then you just get done.
Well, you never know. You never know. If the next factory, someone's looking out when you're going in there, guns, balaclava, you know, overalls and things like that, and you're running in there. You don't know who's watching, so potentially could have a witness.
Okay.
So it's not being so careless. We were pretty good.
Okay.
We were a pretty good team, but yeah, potentially just come undone. And then we were doing back then gay bashing as well. That was a big thing back then.
Wait up, what'd you say? Gay bashing?
Yeah.
So like if someone's gay, you just flog them?
You go to the park where they all hang out of a night time.
Yeah.
And then you kidnap them and extort them, take them back to their house, clean them right out and that, bash them, things like that. So it was a big thing in Sydney and in Melbourne.
That's a pretty interesting world that we're...
It was. That was the times that, you know, I mean, it wasn't normal, and it just wasn't normal, but it wasn't abnormal neither.
What do you think about today's day and age?
It's putrid.
Oh, today's day and age is no good.
The ice epidemic.
Okay, yeah.
People are so loose. They don't care the way that they treat people in the streets and that. You know, young kids, get out the fucking way, you old bastard, or, you know, shit like that. We never spoke like that. We always respected our elders and things like that. We didn't just target innocent people. And today's age, people, they target innocent people. And that's no good.
Yeah, okay. There could be a debate there with like you kind of targeting, like you guys targeting like people over their race.
Oh, 100%. It wasn't right. It's not right. It wasn't right. But now we live in a multicultural country where back then, you know, it was starting to come in. So immigration started off at about 40,000 per year. And then over a matter of a couple of years, it went to 120,000. So we saw the influx of different nationalities, and that's where all the hatred started coming from.
So it was not normal in your day and age to like, so when the immigration started, it was like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here type stuff. Like, whereas like in my day, like when I'm growing up, that was completely normal. Like we're multicultural.
Yeah, now we're multicultural and white's a minority.
Yeah.
You know, but I worked on the docks as well when I was quite young, and we were loading up containers going to Russia and places like that with wool, steel, concrete, and we were selling good stuff and buying back inferior product from all these other countries and selling our own country out. So that's where I got the idea of, you know, joining the group, but I wasn't racist personally, and I've been picked apart for not actually being racist at that time, you know, but I don't need to answer to them, to the racists. I don't need to answer to them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So let's go. So you're doing your arm robs, and are you in this, like, are you in the crew at this point? What's the gang called? Is it a gang?
The neo-Nazi gang?
Yeah, what's that called?
It was just a Nazi gang, neo-Nazi skinheads.
Skinheads.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, so you shave your heads and you just start fucking running around. Mate, the Romper Stomper movie, they're just running around like you're hitting each other. You're in a gang and just start smacking each other. Like, was the Romper Stomper movie like, did it play like what yous were kind of doing? Because yous were like in like these things and then just going up smacking each other and shit.
Yeah. So we did wear boots and we wore braces, red to signify Nazis, white for white power, things like that. And we did. We went to live bands and that, and we'd just have a big mosh pit and we'd be running amok and singing and carrying on and things like that. But we just annihilated everything that we come across. Everything.
Really? Were you angry when you were doing that? Like, did you feel anger?
So there was a debate at one stage. The judge had a go at me because I was straight when I was carrying out my crimes and I wasn't drug affected, and they didn't understand why a person would do that.
Yeah.
Not under the influence of drugs and things like that. Sometimes he'd be angry, sometimes he'd be laughing, and I'm not proud of it. I'm definitely ashamed.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. This is your story, so I'm just trying to understand it. That's why I'm asking these questions. I'm like, because if you're just running around flogging people and shit, like, it's maybe not a mentally sound person that's doing that. Like I asked that. Like, if I was just seeing someone going around smacking people left, right, and centre, but it was normal back then.
Well, you know, after boys' home at 14, after being pinched for armed robbery, going to boys' home, being sexually assaulted, and then put back out in the street.
So this is what happens. So you do you move out, you do your armed robberies, then you get pinched.
Yep.
And then this leads into you going to a boys' home.
Yep. And
then this is very common because I've had other guests on here that talk about this stuff. So
generations ruined.
So what happened there?
I'm not really supposed to talk about it, but what other kids were going through was banging up of a night time and being taken to the toilet, and they were being sexually assaulted by the staff. Okay. And the staff were bringing in their mates who were pedophiles to sexually assault the kids.
Wow.
Oh, it was hectic. It was crazy.
This isn't a hidden thing. Like, there's a lot of even Russell Mansour, he just passed away, but he actually was doing God's work out there, kind of what was it? So anyone that's been institutionally abused goes to him, and then he starts the help. And because it happened to him, rest in peace to Russell Manser. So it happened to you.
Yeah, I can give you an example. So when I first come in off the street for armed robbery, some kids ripped my pants off and tied my shoelaces together, and I was quite nervous when I first went in.
Yeah.
And so I was held in my cell for a week. Yeah. And in that week, I didn't come out of my cell, obviously, and I'd have to bang up to go to the toilet of a night time. So then things happened, and I started pissing and shitting in my cell. Okay. And then other kids were ridiculing me of a night time, yelling out. And then after being sexually assaulted, I was like, bang up, let me out. I want out of the cell. And when they let me out of the cell, I just ramped it right up and started going right on with it.
What do you mean you started punching on?
Fighting, stabbing, bashing.
With who?
With other prisoners. Yeah, pretty much.
So you thought in your mind you wanted to like make a statement once you got out.
Yep.
But what would the guards do?
Nothing. They'd
are you a kid?
To split it. Yeah, I was still only 14.
Okay, yeah.
This is going on in boys' home. Yeah. They'd eventually split it up, and they'd isolate you or whatever. I spent so much time in solitary in boys' home in the pink cell because it was painted pink.
When you say solitary confinement, is that you just by yourself?
Yep, 23 in a cell, 23 hours or 24 hours a day in the cell. That's it.
When you say you can't talk about, because on another podcast I actually heard you go a little bit into it. So you're saying that you went to a boys' home, got sexually assaulted by the guards.
Yep.
And then from there, is there any like repercussions from what's going on there, or you can't really talk about that?
Well, I've just had mine settled.
Okay.
And that's why in some of the clauses, they've told me that I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay. So you go from that, and then you're fucking angry.
I'm angry.
You're angry.
I'm pissed.
And then you come out at like 14, 15 years old, just going crazy
I've been bullied all my life. I go to boys' home, I get sexually assaulted. I come out, just wreak havoc, and I get pinched a couple more times. I go back to boys' home.
Yeah. And
then after all that happened, I met up with a kid that I was in boys' home with, and he said, listen, he was a skinhead, and he goes, I'm going back to Dane Sweetman's house, and you want to come for a barbecue? And he was the head of the skinheads.
Yeah.
He was a big fella. I don't know if you've seen him, but
is this Dane Sweetman?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's who Russell Crowe plays in the movie.
Well, he portrays in a way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was loosely based about our lives because we're still going on trial.
Yeah.
And there would be legal complications if it was exact our story. But the director did want to exploit how much scum we were.
Okay.
So it wasn't a movie for racism or anything like that. It was to show the community that these people are bad. We don't want them in the community.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it was all about. I've spoken to the director about the movie. I've done functions with him and book launches.
So you're saying the message of the movie was trying to wipe racism out?
Yep.
Not trying to fuel it?
No, it was definitely not trying to fuel it. The movie was, he wrote the script in about 86 about some skinheads, and at that time it wasn't political correct.
Yeah.
So it was on the back burner. And then when we started running amok through the city and everything, he took it on again, and he started following us around from a distance. We didn't even know.
Really?
And he was taking notes and everything like that. And but he followed us around, and he was too scared to approach us.
Yeah.
He didn't want nothing to do with us, didn't want to talk to us. He corresponded with Dane through letters.
Yeah.
And things like that. And
okay, so you're going to this barbecue with Dane Friedman.
No, Sweetman.
Sorry, too many names. Okay, so you go and meet up with this guy. So you hadn't met him before, and he's kind of the leader guy?
Yeah, he'd just been released from prison.
Okay. What was he in prison for before that?
Armed robbery.
Okay, so he's just one of the older guys, and you're like, were you kind of excited going, fuck yeah, I'm going to meet up with this guy? Or?
But no, I wasn't excited because I didn't know what it was all about. So I just went there for the barbecue, and they were all big boys. A lot of them were big boys, and I go back there, and it was Dane's parents' place, and skinhead music's going, and everyone's running amok and, carrying on. And we left that night from the barbecue and we destroyed a train station. We ended up in the police station. All of us ended up in the police. I actually ended up being charged with assault police because I jumped over the top and smacked a few coppers in the head, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we like this kid," and it was on.
What the fuck?
I was loose. I've been loose all my life because I couldn't get it together. I didn't know how to conduct myself. I didn't have any role models. All I was bullied and broken, potentially just broken.
Yeah, okay. So you hit a police officer and then you're liked by the crew, the skinheads?
Yeah, I was liked anyway. But, just my level of violence seemed to match a couple of the other their violence. And we sort of just had that like-mindedness where we just, it just cultivated. It just kept growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger, and shit got real.
Yeah, how many people are you talking that's in this skinhead gang?
I'd say there was no more than 10. So,
okay.
Yeah, there was no more than 10, but 10 or 7 potentially dangerous characters, like serious dangerous.
And then when you move into the skinhead gang, like what's your day looking like? Like what are you getting up to?
So we'd just go out looking for victims, places. So we'd run through the Chinese gambling where they'd have so you go to the restaurants in Chinatown and downstairs they'd have the illegal gambling, the Chinese and everything, and we'd just go down there, smash everything, boot, just smash, break everything, bash them, just run amok and then run out. And then the Socialist Club where politicians and that go, we smashed that up and we broke in there and smashed it to pieces. And anyone that was in a gang, because there was gangs back then, we'd go to the city and we'd see other gangs and we'd just smash them. We'd just wreck them.
Are you talking about like bikie gangs, or are you talking about like what kind of gangs?
Street gangs.
Okay, street
Whether
gangs.
they'd be Asian, the Cave Clan, the 3174, which is a graffiti gang.
Yeah.
And they weren't white people, so they were another race and whatnot. So, and they looked down on us, we looked down on them, and it was on. It was just on. But
so this bloke's just spray painting the wall, and then you just come through with a fly kick and take him out.
Well, we'd usually be well, it was like that sometimes. But
the movie is the fucking bro. The fight scene went for 15 minutes, and I'm like, why the fuck is this fight scene gone for like the Romper Stomper movie? The fight scene, you can tell like it's a very old movie, but fucking hell, the fight scene just went for 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, when's this over?
Well, back then it was nothing for 50 to 100 blokes to turn up, and another 50 odd from another gang to turn up, and it was a massive brawl.
Was there deaths?
Yep, heaps.
What? So like 50 people,
Murders.
and then how many people just die like in that 50 on 50, or is it a fight and then you just kind of walk away?
There's always potentially someone dying. Always someone potentially dying. At least one person anyway. 9 times out of 10. Yep. There was murders, everything. There was arsons, bashings, stabbings. It was on.
Yeah.
And it was our playground, and we just took over the whole city. We
Okay.
just kicked indoors and done what we wanted.
So you do this, how long does this gang life, the skinhead gang life, last for?
Well, for me, it only went for about 9 months. Potentially 5 months of that was just chaos. And then we got pinched.
Oh, so it comes to an end pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then we go to jail.
Yeah.
And then it picks up again in jail, and we just take over the system.
Okay, so when you get pinched for that, like, was that a big thing that like, did you get charged for something and you were facing jail for a long time, or?
So I got pinched on an unrelated racist offence. So there was a whole heap of people locked in a room, and I set the house on fire. It burnt down to the ground, and they survived. The people survived.
Wait, what happened? So you just say you did, or someone did?
Me.
Okay.
And so I've locked them because they'll fuckwits. They'll just absolute.
So you lit the house on fire?
Yeah, and burnt the house down and locked them in the bedroom, and I walked out, and then I come back, and the police and everyone was there. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, you're the man we want to see. Why? They said, you know why? I said, bullshit. And bang, I go to the police station, and then I'm held in the cells, so without bail, I'm held in the cells.
Wait, before you move on,
Yep.
so this is so you do 9 months in the skinheads, and then you go and burn a house down for unrelated.
Unrelated, yep.
So who were these people to you? They were just fuckwits.
Yeah, just fuckwits in a refuge.
Anything like there's just fuckwits. Like, did they say fuck you? Did they do something to you?
I know we were bad in the community, but they were like ringing up the fire brigade and things like that, and taking away, you know, their responsibility for proper jobs and things like that, and just doing scummy shit, just being real scum, thieves and things like that. So I'm not a thief. I don't thieve and stuff like that. You know, they were doing just real scummy shit, and I thought, fuck, you just got to go.
So you just went and lit the fucking house on fire. What the fuck? And you, so when you get refused bail,
yep.
Are you looking at a long time in jail?
Oh, potentially, yeah.
How long were we talking?
Oh, well, arson's right up there with murder and, you know, a trait of a psychopath. So potentially years and years and years. And I eventually get acquitted for that crime.
When you say acquitted for the audience, can you? So you're not.
So the jury found me not guilty of the crime.
But you just admit
But there was circumstances to, you know, the way that they reckon it happened and the way that I reckon it happened, and the jury believed the way that I believed that it was an accident, and I'm saying it was an accident.
It was an accident.
And
fuck, that's interesting. Okay.
yeah, so, you know, and as legal trials go and that, you know, you've got the for and the against, and you fight it out, and the better man wins at the end of the day. But I get locked up in the cells. I go back to the city watch house.
Yeah.
On the way to go to Pentridge, and my first day in jail, first day in the watch house, bloke says, I was laying on the bench, and he goes, I want your tracksuit pants. I said, no, man, I'm not getting them off. Just leave me sleep. I'm a kid. And he's like you know, one of those heroes that march up and down real loud and that, making everyone laugh. Oh, this fucking kid, rah, rah, you know. And he kept tugging me pants and trying to pull them off me and that. And he's going, you know, when you get the pants, you're going to get fucked, mate. You know. I said, no, you're not having me pants. Fuck off. Just leave me alone. And he's like, no, you'll be getting them off. I said, no, I fucking won't be getting them off.
What do you want them for? Because he was cold?
No, they were good tracksuit pants.
Yeah,
and, you know, people, it's a fashion parade in jail. On remand.
Yeah.
Down in Victoria, you could wear your own clothes, so it's a fashion parade.
Okay.
And so he says, you're fucked when you go to Pentridge. And I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'm going to the boys' home still.
Got to get that mic closer to you.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
so you fucked when you go on a Pentridge. This guy wants your trackies?
The next day, they call the Pentridge van, and his name gets called, and he goes out to the truck, and I thought, oh, yeah, sweet, I'm not going. And bang, my name gets called. I think, fuck. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm only a fucking kid. I should be going back to the boys' home. And they go, no, you're going to the adult jail, mate.
Yeah.
So I get on the van, and he's in the same cubicle as me. So I'm sitting here, and he's just sitting there, you know. And he's going, you wait, kid, you wait, you're fucked. I'll get them tracksuit pants. I'll get a lot more when I get fucking the Pentridge. You're going to get fucking smashed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, no problems, you know. I'm thinking, fuck, what am I going to do, right? I just had no idea. So we get on the van and we get to Pentridge. We go through reception.
Yeah.
And, you know, they you have a shower and shit like that, but then they take you over to the induction part, which was F division back then.
Okay.
And we got units these days, but back then it was the division, the old Bluestone building. And they bring out a movie and they make you watch it, and this crim gets on there and he says, right, this is what, you got to follow the yellow line, do what you're meant to do, don't do this, don't do that, you know, or just explaining the rules. And this bloke's, so there's like 20 of us, and we're sitting in a row of chairs and like an L shape, and he's going, you're a fuck kid and that, and I'm thinking, fuck. And we got to see the doctor, the psych, and make a phone call.
Yeah.
And I'm the last person to get seen to. So they've all been seen to. They're in the mess hall by this stage eating dinner, and I'm the last one. So anyway, I see them all. I go out into the room where the mess hall, and there's a line of tables there and a line there, and then there's a table in the middle up there, and no one's sitting there. Usually a screw will go, stand up there and say, right, this is how it's going to be, fucking rah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because as I'm walking up the side of the tables, it was like a Forrest Gump moment, you know, this seat's taken, thinking, fuck. So I go right up the top. I sit at the top head table, right? And our mate goes, now say grace, matey. And everyone laughed at me, and I went red as a beetroot thinking, fuck, I'm embarrassed. What the fuck am I going to do? So I smashed down my meal real quick.
Yeah.
And he was sitting on the other side of the table.
Who, the guy that wants your trackies?
Yeah, that wants my trackies.
Okay, yeah.
And we get bread and butter knife and a fork, so I got steel utensils.
Yeah.
And you drop them in a bucket in the scullery, and the prisoners go and wash them up when you've all done and everything. So I smashed my meal down. I'm sort of the first one up, and I go down to put my stuff in, and I fucking just went bang and stabbed him straight in the fucking neck. And just start fucking pumping him, boom, 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 the best I fucking could, because I knew it's either that or you get raped, you get bashed.
So you just need to set an example.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be that bloke, you know. So my first fucking day at Pentridge, fucking bang, straight in the neck, and then just started feeding it to him. And so the screws come from nowhere, bang, just rushed us, bang, we fall on the ground. He's trying to make a stand, you know, to come back up and fight me, but I just keep feeding it to him, you know. And then bang, get hit from behind, and down we go. And so the screws separate us. They take him off to the fucking hospital, wherever.
Yeah.
And they take me over to D Division. They put me in the obso cell. And I'm there. The governor comes in about 20 minutes later, half an hour later. He comes over, goes, what's all that about, young kid? I said, fuck off, leave me alone, right? Don't speak to me. I don't, just fuck off. He goes, oh, tough guy, hey? So they fucking give me a flog, and the screws come in there, pump me, bang. They said, we got a fucking surprise for you. So they come back again. There's a divisional van outside the division. They take me to the divisional van. They drive me over to H Division.
Yeah. What's H Division? Because why
solitary.
is it?
Solitary confinement.
Oh, so you're just, so when Chopper's talking about it in his, do you like Chopper?
I've got a respect for him. Like the bloke was no good.
Was he younger than you or older?
No, he's older. I'm only 17. I've only just turned 17.
Oh, okay. But like how old's, like, so Chopper was like an old
He would have
school.
been about 30 odd, in his 30s.
Oh, okay. So he's a bit older than you.
Yeah.
Was he in
big
there?
Boy, yep.
Oh, so you met Chopper?
I have met him. I met him not that time, but I met him when I come back when I got extradited from South Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so yeah, I do know him, and I know him out in the street as well. So,
okay, so you'll go on a H Division, which I hear that in the Chopper movie. I'm actually going to watch Chopper after this, I think, because that's a fucking
That was a funny movie.
Yeah, Chopper Reed. Wow,
yeah,
man.
When I first seen it, I just fell off the chair crying and laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah, so you go to H Division.
Yep, and they strip you naked and they bash your nuts and shit with the baton and that, and they fucking stomp you and bash you and just fucking wreck you, and they say, this is fucking our place, and they want you to scream. So the other prisoners in there, so there's only 40 cells in there, and you've got mass murderers, you've got serial killers, you've got jail murderers, you've got the worst of the worst in that little...
Yeah.
That in H Division, there's only 40 cells, and they make you scream so everyone else can laugh, or you'd hear, get off him, you fucking dogs, you know, or something like that, you know. So I get fucking stripped naked. I go through therapy. I get fucking smashed, and they put me in the cell. And then later on, they come back and I could hear him out the door saying, "He's only 17. We can't have him here." And so what they did was they transferred me over to the BMU, which was B management unit, so a prison management unit. So it was the same. It was 40 cells, but it was just off B Division. You had B Division mainstream. That side was the women or protection, and that side was the slot, which is solitary confinement, the BMU. So, and I was over there, and so then I did another 4-6 months there, and I was reasonably quiet, sort of just getting to know my way around, and I was busted up, I was black-eyed, everything, I was fucked up.
Yeah.
And I remember fucking Frankie Waghorn, that was Chopper Reed's best mate, coming around with dishing out the meals and saying, "You're right, kid. and he made me a T-bone steak. And, you know, I went out to the yard and I said, how come we don't get fucking T-bone steaks out there, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, think about it, because the fucking chop.
Oh,
the chop
okay, yeah.
bone, you know, it's a potential shiv. So, you know, I was still really green, you know, I was still warming up, you know. And that led to the bloke wanting my tracksuit pants, because at this time this bloke was burning down hedges and I was pinched on arson, and they said, oh, you the hedge burner. What blue you pinched on? And I thought blue was him fighting. And they're like, no, blue, your charges. What charges are you pinched on? So they knew I was naive and gullible, and it just started from there, you know.
Yeah.
And then old mate got fucking stabbed because of being a smart ass.
The guy
You know, that I stabbed, you know, for being a smart ass potentially, you know, is the fuckwit.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's a do or die situation, really.
Yeah.
And
when you go, so you've went into jail, and then how long does that stint last for?
About six odd months, and that's I was in the slot for about 4 odd months, and then they released me back into the yards in D Division, and I go out into the yards, and some old school heads come up and go, "Were you that bloke, the kid that stabbed old mate?" And I was like, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I didn't know what to say, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it was me. And they went, "Yo, you're a good kid. You did what you had to do, you know. That was a good thing. He's a fuckwit. Old mate's a fuckwit. You shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
You know, so then they started schooling me up a bit, and then I fucking made bail.
Okay.
I got bail, and at this stage, the skinhead stuff was starting to catch up. So my other coes had just hit jail for murder, and all these charges were starting to come through, and my charges hadn't come through yet, so I thought, fuck, I'm out of here, you know. So I hit the street, and bang, 17 days, I was on the run over in South Australia, and I got pinched over there. Well, I handed myself in, but for armed robbery over there, because I had no money, and so bang, I hit jail over there.
So you went to jail you get out for 17 days.
Yep.
And then you go to jail in South Australia.
South Australia.
For more armed robbery stuff.
And armed robbery. So I'm there for a couple of months, and I started hearing rumours, old mate's going to cut your fucking throat. See, Dane Sweetman and that had been pinched on murder for cutting a bloke's legs off and hitting a bloke in the head with the axe, and it was a pretty gruesome murder.
Yeah.
And I'm in South Australia, and they put me in the unit with old mate's brother that they killed.
Okay.
So old mate's going around telling everyone that I killed his brother, you know, fucking with the axe and everything, dismembered him, and he's going to cut my throat and leave me under the pool table. And someone come back and told me, so I thought, oh yeah, fucking we'll see about that dog, you know. And we had big steel urns back then, and so I cooked up the urn. It was steaming.
Yeah.
And I got a big jug of water, and he was sitting up there watching at the TV area, and I went and sat beside him, and I said, "Hey, dog," and this fucking boof with the hot water and fucking burned his whole face off.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it just dropped right off him.
Holy shit. So you don't shy away from a bit of
Nope.
messing people up?
Nope.
These days you calm down or what?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good as gold these days.
Okay.
I don't even spit on the sidewalk.
Okay. So you did murder. Did you get done for murder?
Yeah, I didn't get done for murder because the bloke didn't die for 16 months, and back then you had to, if it wasn't within the 12 months and 1 day, you couldn't be charged with a homicidal offence, so you could only be charged with unlawful wounding, intentional wounding.
When does that happen? So you do your Adelaide thing or your South Australia thing?
While I'm pinched over there in South Australia, the police come over there and they charge me with all the skinhead stuff.
Okay.
They start laying down charges, and one of them was for killing an Asian on the train station. So I stabbed him 9 times and seriously fucked him up. But when you get hurt as a kid, you know what I mean? You don't want to get hurt no more.
Yeah.
You know, and you do become the bully. These people that get bullied become bullies, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. That's what happened for me. And like you said, I don't shy away from violence. It was the only way I knew how to protect myself. And because I wasn't strong and I wasn't the best fighter and I wasn't the biggest kid, the only way to do it was maximum damage.
Just stab people, like
stab, murder.
What'd that guy do that you stabbed 18 times or whatever? Like was he just?
Oh, that was in South Australia, in Queensland.
What?
No, see, yeah, there's heaps of stuff.
So wait, so the one that we were just talking about where you stabbed
that's 9 times I stabbed the an Asian bloke on the train station.
In Melbourne?
Yep.
And then they've come across and charged you and then brought you back to Melbourne for that?
No, I had to serve my time out in South Australia. And so while I was there, I met a bloke called Gary.
Yeah.
And he shot his way out of prison. He escaped twice. He shot his way out of the prison, and he was a known head over there. So he started schooling me up and things like that. And while I was in South Australia, I was bashing screws with chairs, and I started really running amok. I was real loose, and get the fire hose out and and so one of the things I'd do in South Australia was you'd have the sprinkler system coming off your cell.
Yeah.
So, and back then they had these detachable pipes from the sink pipe. So I'd screw that off, and you got like a it's not a steel bar, but it's like a bar.
Yeah.
And I'd take that off. I'd smash the sprinkler off, and it'd let out like 10,000 gallons of water and fire retarded shit. And the screws would come running up and going, open cell 40, and they'd open it up, and I'd be standing there to the side and just fucking bang into the screws, whack.
Really?
Shit like that. So I was just going right off.
Why were you doing that? Just to set an example or just for fun?
I was just loose. I didn't even know why I was doing it. I couldn't put myself together. I had no real good role models, and with all the incidences that kept happening, you kept pumping yourself up, and people would stroke your ego and you'd fuck up more as well, But, and I was just so loose and running amok, and then I got a reputation and things like that. And every time in the newspaper there'd be like blitzing the neo-Nazis, a big article about me in Melbourne and things like that. And that'd kick off big race riots and that over in South Australia where there was an incident. I wasn't there in the jail at this specific time, but a couple of the Aboriginal fellas kidnapped the screws and prisoners, kept them hostage for 3 days, stabbed them up, shit like that. But there was other riots that I was there for where the army and that was called in and was shooting us off the cyclone fence with beanbag bullets, and you'd have to go through the suicide run. So it'd be 20.
What's this suicide run? That's what I want to. Okay. I want to hear this suicide run. That was a question.
So you'd be stuck out in the yard or something. There'd be 20 screws that side or 20 that side, and they'd be screws, the squad or the army, and you'd have to run from there back into the building, back to your cells. And they'd have batons and shields and everything, and you'd have to make it down there without falling over and getting flogged.
What? Who set this up?
This is just the way. This is how.
What the
screws?
The screws would go. Okay, we're going to do it.
When you've got a full blown riot and you've got 100 prisoners or 200 prisoners going off, and stabbing people and just going off, and that's what they got to do to get the jail back under control.
Well, how did you go with so you got out of jail in 2019, from when you first went in there to now, 2019, what was that? How'd you feel about that? Was it cool in 2019 or was it fun back when you were doing suicide runs?
Well, at one stage I thought it'd be smart to grab the bloke in front of me, and as I'm running through and I've got him shielding me, I've tripped over his feet and banged down, I've gone, and they've just pounced on me and just smashed me. As you say, I've fucking broken nose. I've had all my bones in my face broken, my teeth kicked out. I've been smashed, my back's fractured. I just had a major operation on my back. It was fun in some parts.
So the old school jail days were fun compared to now.
That was real men. But we were fighting to get things. Like back then, no TVs, no nothing. One grey blanket, 2 sheets, and a fucking pillow. That was it, We fought to have all the canteen stuff. Even before my time with John Killick and...
John Killick, the guy that he got picked up in the helicopter by his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
He's a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
Him and a few others, Jockey Smith and a few of them old heads and that real known prisoners went to war with the screws to get all these rights for prisoners and things like that. And when long-term solitary, because I've been in long-term solitary, no TVs, no nothing. And eventually the Geneva Convention said that, listen, these prisoners need a wireless radio.
Yeah.
So that it stopped us from going mad, but we were already fucking mad.
Let's go back to, so you stabbed the guy 9 times. Then you go, where does this whole jail, where does 27 years of jail come from? I want to understand that. I want the audience to understand that. So you do your 6 months and then you...
so I only spend 4 months out of the time, a day and a half, 17 days. I'm back in jail. I'm doing another whack. I'm doing years. And
so what was the longest one?
10 years.
10 years. Was that after you'd spent a day and a half out?
Yep.
Okay, so can we move forward to the day and a half out, or do we need to touch on some more stuff?
Oh, no, there's heaps more in between.
Yeah, mate, this podcast will go for 5 hours if there's heaps more in between, So you do your Melbourne jail.
Yeah, so I'm in South Australia. Well, I get extradited back to Melbourne.
Yeah, for this 9 stabbing.
Yeah, for that, burning down another house and bashing another bloke. So I was pinched on 18 different offences of bashings, stabbings, arson, things like that. So I was pinched on a whole heap of stuff. And they take me on the plane and I fly back into Melbourne at Tullamarine Airport, and the back of the plane comes down. You don't get on the side.
Yeah.
Back comes down. They march me off the plane, and there's like 60 security vehicles, 4-wheel drive, shotguns, everything. They're down there. And I'm thinking, is this all this for fucking me? I must be in some fucking shit.
Yeah.
Some real shit, And they were stroking my ego too, to make me fuck up even more. And then they took me back to H Division and that's when I met Chopper. And he wrote about us in his books, and that said that me and my co-offender and a few others, Dane Sweetman and that, were the most dangerous men in the system at that time.
Really?
Yep.
Do you say skinheads?
Yep, about the whole... So we're in his books. He writes little paragraphs and stuff, and he wanted to join the Ku Klux Klan. We said, your best mate's Aboriginal, mate. Like, you're pulling our fucking leg, And my co-offender wrote a letter and he published it in his 3rd book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dane wrote him a bad letter, and so he published in the book, and, so it was jokes going backwards and forwards, and there was a time where I was in between 2 serial killers fighting about who's going to kill each other to make the biggest kill count, because they were both on 6 kills, I think, at that stage. And I wanted to kill it, yeah. So this is the shit I've had to navigate through and learn the game to survive.
So you get off this plane, you go back to Melbourne, and what are you facing? How many years?
I'm facing potentially, life, 20 odd years, and they brought in the Dangerous Offenders Act for Dane, but Dane got acquitted of another charge, so they couldn't bring about the Dangerous Offenders Act. So I went down, the jury was picked, I stuck my hand up after the jury was picked and said I'm guilty. And so the police, the prosecution were dirty as, and they said... because they couldn't get him, they said, we'll get him. So they applied to have the Dangerous Offenders Act on me, and it hadn't really been brought forward at this stage to any other prisoners. So they went and they said that I hadn't proven myself as an adult on the street.
Yeah.
I've only been a young offender. So therefore they made me a serious violent offender instead and gave me extra time on my sentence. But Dane, when he got sentenced for the murder, pulled out a big shiv in the courtroom, stabbed it in the wooden dock, said if I wanted to fucking kill anyone, I'd kill him right now. And I was in the county court across the road, and I'd bashed the prosecutor with the chair and jumped over and bashed the police. I was into a big brawl with the police in the courtroom.
What the fuck?
I know, this just goes on.
Dude,
and on.
You've had a pretty crazy life, I reckon.
And and I can fact check it all. Like, I've got the paperwork.
So do you get charged if you're bashing police in court?
I get charged for just about everything that I've...
And you spend 27 years in jail?
Yep. And
what's a life sentence? Isn't that 25 years?
Back then, yeah, it could be life without parole. Could be life with 20 years on the bottom, like you said, or 25 on the bottom.
Okay.
So life, yeah, with the bottom sentence.
Where do you do your jail, and then we need to kind of move towards you kind of becoming better and being outside. Yeah. So, so you do your jail in Melbourne, and then you get out.
I get out. I get shot.
What the fuck?
I get shot through the neck.
Really?
Yep. So
what happened here?
Brendan Abbott escaped from Queensland prison, and he just happened. Him and his group that he escaped with did an armed robbery 5 blocks from my house, at the same time I got shot. So it's hard to say about who shot me, but it wasn't them. I can tell you right now, it wasn't them.
Yeah.
They tried to blame them for it. I said, listen, we know who it was. It wasn't them. You know, the police kicked in my door 2 minutes after I'd been shot and trying to drag me out of the house.
Okay.
And my ex at that time rang an ambulance, and I wanted to chase them in the car, and they're like, no. And because I got a full back tattoo.
Yeah.
And my mate come running out and he goes, fuck, man, you all right? I go, did that dog just wreck my tattoo? Because I've been shot. I got a fucking massive lump there, right? He goes, fuck, man, you're off your fucking head. Get inside. I said, all right, what goes around comes around, you know? And so that happened, and the gangland wars and all that shit happened.
Were you involved in the gangland wars?
I was involved with people to do with the gangland wars. Carl Williams' cousin. I was involved with him for a long time. And yeah, there's that many stories that branch off into other stories, and but
you need to write a book, I think.
But I just want to tell people, I was loose, and I couldn't get it together, but then I did get it together.
Yeah,
you know, so anyone can change. Anyone can get their shit together and potentially change.
Yeah, what makes you like go from being this violent person to then changing, and you know, does the jail make that happen, or?
Oh, well, they did, because I got tortured, right, for 30 years. So I get zip-tied and shackled, right, and left in a squatting position and chained to a pipe in the cell, right, naked. The screws would come in, piss on me, spit on me, bash me, right, all this shit, and then leave me there. They'd come in and inject me in the ass with some medication shit, right, and my body would cramp up. They'd leave me there for 16 hours like that, right? I'd be crying, just in pain, right? And they'd give you a pill and your body would relax, and, you know, you'd come good after a couple of days and whatnot. And, you know, but then the new units, you got the aircon system, they pump it right up so you couldn't breathe because it was so hot, and then dump it real cold so you were shivering, and, you know, so they were just fucking with me. And wherever I had to go, I'd have full security squad. You know, things like that. Sometimes they'd shut down the prisons just to move me anywhere, or out of Supermax and things like, because I went to Supermax for years. I've done about 8 years on Supermax.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't really know too much about the jail stuff. That's the thing, but I'm sure people that are watching can kind of understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So I got tortured, and so going through. So I spent like 17 years in solitary and 8 years in Supermax. So over those years, I went mad.
How's your mind? Yeah, how's your mind going?
Good as gold.
It's good now.
It's good now. So
what happened how'd you feel when you got out of jail? Like, what the fuck did you do?
No, not a problem.
What'd you do? You walked out, and did you have family around or anything like that?
I had my mum around for about 2 weeks, and then fucking that was it.
Okay.
But, yeah, but what happened though, but when I was in Supermax and going for all this shit, right, I went to war with one of Australia's most notorious prisoners, and he fucking lagged me.
Who was it?
I'm not going to say who it was.
Oh.
He knows, and everyone else who knows, you know. But anyway, so I thought, if these fucking top blokes are fucking telling on people and shit like that, my whole life's a lie. You look up to these people, you know, in the gangland killings, these older heads and that have been around, a couple of murders under their belt, and they end up giving evidence, and you look up to them and you idolise them. And they do that after 20, 30 years, and they do that. Yeah. My whole life's a fucking lie. So, you know, and I went mad, and, you know, going through all that shit. And so I said to myself, fuck this, I'm gonna reinvent myself. And, you know, so I like shed my skin and built myself back up. But what I did in my mind was I put my tool belt on in my mind. I'd go out to the shed and I'd get my tools for the day, and I'd come in and I'd dig a foundation, cement, and build a house.
Where, in jail?
No, in my head.
Oh, in your head, okay.
I'd build a house, then I'd build a boat, a ship. I built a village.
When you were in jail?
Yep. Well, so for 18 months it took me to build a village in my head with all these good people in there. If I had a problem, I'd go into my head and I'd see these people and I'd talk it, and then I'd get the right answer and you know, and the right result. And so I'd use all that, and it rehabilitated myself. The fog lifted, and I started like doing the right thing, and I felt good about myself, and it was time to go. And that's
when you say it was time to go, time to leave jail, or?
Yeah, I got one opportunity to leave. At this stage, my mum was dying, and they gave me one opportunity. I ended up pretty much getting compassionate parole. I just about done my full sentence, and they wanted me out in the street. They wanted to have something over my head, you know, things like that. So, but yeah, I used that village, and I still use it today to, you know, if I've got something going on that I can't deal with, I'll go back into my head and I'll discuss it with some imaginary person or whatever and get the result that I want. And a lot of psychologists, criminologists, everyone is just fascinated.
Did someone teach you that, or you
No
just,
one.
just yourself? You built this little village in your head.
I did it all myself. I didn't even know that it was a thing in the 16th century.
Okay.
And the thing that I did was used in the 16th century is like one of the last psychology laws that we use today. It was the memory palace.
Yeah.
And they were dumbfounded and fascinated that I could do that and rehabilitate myself and change the way I am as a person. And, you know, I did that and I haven't looked back since.
So when you start looking at coming out of jail, like was that a 10-year? Wait, there is one thing where I want to ask you. You got out for a day and a half as well. I'm not too sure. And then something happened with your ex-girlfriend or something?
She come pick me up from the prison.
Yeah.
Instead of saying the relationship was over, she took me back to where my parole address was, and there's 4 blokes standing there like this going, "We thought you'd be bigger." And I thought, "Fuck you, dog." I smashed the first one, broke his jaw, then he shit himself. So I said, "You smell like poo." So I picked him up like a dog and threw him, but he hit the door jamb, fractured his skull, and then I picked him up and launched him off a balcony. And then I went back for his mate and I stabbed his mate 18 times, tried to cut his eyes out with surgical scissors. I was pissed. I was pissed right off because I wanted to rehabilitate at that stage. And
that's crazy.
I'm out half a day.
And did you go straight back in?
A day and a half, bang, straight back in for another 10 years.
Holy fuck.
You know, so I thought, fuck. You know, and then I had a siege and a prison officer ended up fucking dying. And if a prison officer dies, who gets... After Gorry, so I had a siege, right? And I just went to war, threw hot boiling water over a couple of prisoners and bashed. There was about 6 blokes that got smashed. The screws come out. We put oil at the start of the door, so when the screws come running in the squad, they slid right down there so they couldn't get their traction. And we tied the yard off with a skipping rope, and I was out in the yard with a couple of other blokes who just destroyed the fucking joint, destroyed every prisoner in the yard. And the screws eventually get out there and try to play hero, and I jumped all over the screw's head and fucking broke his leg in 5 places. And he went to hospital and they tried to fix his leg, and he had an infection. They couldn't fix his leg, and soon after he finds out he's got stomach cancer, and that infection exacerbated the stomach cancer. He ends up fucking dying. And I'm in the courtroom and, you know, shackled and everything, and I look around and there's his wife and daughter dressed in black in the courtroom, and I was like, nah, that's fucking wrong. I don't care about the screw, you know. I mean, I do. I got remorse, but I you know, it's part of the job. But when you see family members come in dressed in black, it's like, and, you know, a 20-something-year-old girl, you know, mourning her father, it's like, nah, it's over.
Yeah.
It's fucking done, you know. And the shit with that other prisoner, you know, fucking telling on me, I was like, nah, it's done.
It's kind of crazy to think that you're actually out of jail. Like with what you've done, it's like...
They said I'd never get out. They said I would never change. I won't change.
Do you have any rules right now on you? Do you have parole? Like
nothing.
Really?
Clean. I was going to say I got a couple of warrants from 30 years ago, but Nathan Patterson took that story.
That's funny. Yeah,
it was funny because when I seen it, I thought, fuck, and that's exactly the same as me. I'm too scared to get on a plane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's the only time they'll arrest you.
Fucking hell. So
but, you know, I've been out 5 years.
Been out 5 years?
Yeah, been out 5 years, and I help people in the community. I help professionals, psychologists. They get me in to consult with them, criminologists, the professors from universities, things like that. So, and I help people. I help kids. I help families. I've given away 2 cars to kids, so they went and got a job, and so I do really good things out there in the community.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you went on the true crime, like Australia True Crime podcast as well. They're pretty big, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge. But I just
did they reach out to you or you reach out to them?
No, they reached out to me. Yeah,
okay.
I've never really reached out to anybody. Journalists, everything just smashed down my door. Boom, boom, boom. We know you're in there.
Yeah.
We just want your story. Come on.
Yeah, I think you need to write a book or something, man.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's all coming. I know it's hard to do a podcast because potentially a podcast could go for days.
I think days, man, because we've already been running for 2 hours and 3 minutes, an hour and 3 minutes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
and I kind of feel like we've only just touched on.
That's what happens.
It seems rushed, like I don't even. Yeah,
that's what happens with every podcast. It's the same thing because everyone just doesn't know where to go, where to start.
Yeah,
and because I can back it up with all the paperwork and that, they're just like, fuck.
Yeah, well, there's a movie based around your guys' gang, Skinheads.
Yeah, and it's, it's going to be my legacy. I'm never going to be forgotten because of it either.
Yeah.
And there's potential another movie going to come out. And
where do you think you go? Like, where do you go now? What do you do?
But I wanted to tell people why, I did all this bad shit and I really fucked up. But there was a point to all that bad shit that people can change. People can be bad and go through madness and everything and come out the other side and change. You just got to want to change. If you're a psychopath or you're really loose, go into fucking business. Go into business where you're not hurting someone. Bully people around the fucking, the office and the boardroom and things like that into making deals. Don't go out there fucking hurting innocent people and other people.
Yeah.
There's a better way to manage your violence and that, and business is a good way to do it.
I think that's a good message. Do you want to share anything else that? Kind of touched on everything. That other podcast I watched was really short, but is there anything else that you want to... I could ask you about heaps of shit in jail. You spent nearly 30 years in jail, so I'm sure it's all jail stories, which I don't really want to say, I don't really want to be sharing too many jail stories because then we cool. Kind of say it's cool. But is there anything else you want to share?
No, that's really about it at the moment. Like I said, I work with professionals now, I work with families and I work from young people to elderly and, a lot of people got a lot of trust and faith in me and I do the right thing out there now. And I enjoy life,
It's lucky that you're not absolutely brain dead after 27 years in jail.
Oh, I'm fucked up, but don't get me wrong, I'm fucked up. I have my moments and that.
How's your mind go from day to day? Like, how do you deal with depression, anxiety and stuff at these? Do you feel like
I don't get it now. I don't get it. I might get a bit of depression every now and then. Life can be a bit daunting because, you go in as a 14-year-old kid and you come out when you're nearly 50 and you've got 20 years left in your life. That's pretty daunting to know that the last 20 went real fucking quick. This 20 is going to go real quick and it's all over.
Yeah.
And I'm still of sound mind.
You said you had a stroke. How long ago did you have a stroke?
It's going on 3 years now, 2.5 years, 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Do you train or anything? Because you showed me a photo before. I might get that photo off you at some point. But you actually look like solid as fuck. You look like a big bloke, yeah.
Yeah, I was training. Even when I got out, I was still training. And then I had the stroke and a few other medical issues. I've had a back operation and shit like that. And, my body just went boom, just hit rock bottom. And so now the only way's up.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start getting back into it.
Who's the craziest prisoner you ever met in the jail system?
The craziest, there's probably Gary Giebert over in South Australia. He'd be right up there. Jesus,
what did he do?
He shot his way out of Yatala prison.
Fucking
when he escaped, and there's too many. There's too many on the spot. Russell Cox.
You said that. What'd that guy do?
He was an armed robber. He escaped Supermax in New South Wales in Katingal in Goulburn.
Okay.
He was an old armed robber, and he wasn't the most hectic, but he was professional about the things that he did.
Professional criminal. Do you have a phone?
Yeah, I do.
How'd you feel about going into jail and then
I thought
with
you were
no phones?
over me.
No. So you went into jail with no phones and then coming out with phones and technology and stuff like that. How do you feel about that these days?
It angers me.
In what way?
I have meltdowns over my computer, over my phone when it doesn't do what I want it to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, potential meltdowns.
Just the thing you went
cool.
into jail at near 20 and then you're 50 years old just come.
Life's too complicated for people now.
Yeah.
The expectations of the the schoolwork's probably bumped up triple, knowing about social media and all this sort of stuff, where everything was black and white back in our day.
Yeah.
Simple, life's simple, and I still live a simple life. I like to live simple, be self-aware of my surroundings, what's going on, things like that. And, it's so complicated that people are just fucking out there. They're worse than me.
Do you reckon you reckon it was better back in your day?
Way better.
You reckon it was safer? No.
Yeah.
Safer back in your day?
But there wasn't as many people living in Australia back then. Now we've got so many people living in Australia, that it's just complicated. There's houses everywhere, and the only way they're building's up now. Back then we were sort of still spreading out. Now it's up, and you don't know. You've got no sense of belonging. You don't know where you belong. To make it somewhere, it's hard to find where you fit.
Yeah.
What's for you. Back then it was a bit easier. You could go do a trade or anything like that. You ask a kid to do a trade now, they're like, fuck that, I'm not doing that, that's hard work.
Yeah, but do you think their minds are a bit smarter? I feel like
they're too smart for their own good.
Oh, you reckon it's like that, do you?
And with the ice epidemic and that, thinking that we'll stay up a little bit longer and we'll get a little bit more work done. And it turns
drugs
into
are
addiction.
terrible. Yeah.
And addiction turns into loose, crazy people that do bad shit on that shit.
Yeah.
Do weird stuff.
Do you reckon you'd ever commit another crime?
No.
Never
not intentionally.
Not intent. I was going to get an exclusive. If you've ever going to do another crime, let us know.
I'll ring you straight up. I'll say, look, you're about to do a crime.
Nah, man. I think where do people find you? On any? Do you have social media or no?
Oh, I'm starting to learn how to use it properly. Social media.
Do you have an Instagram?
People just find me. One day I'm looking on my phone and people just turn up on my messenger.
Yeah, okay. So do you have an Instagram or you got a...
I do, but I don't use it.
So you can't promote anyone if anyone needs to reach out and have a chat?
People just find me. I've got an author who wrote a book about Pentridge, and I was in that book, and through that I've met business people, I've met all sorts of people, and it just networks. So it's just a word of mouth that networks that find me.
So they're just going to find you. I can't give you a little bit of a promotion to say.
Well, I am going to start.
Email.
I am starting a
You're starting a YouTube.
I am going to start a YouTube channel.
What's it going to be called?
I haven't really put much thought to it. I've just put Curbs TV at this stage.
Curbs TV.
Yeah, TV, and I'm going to start bringing out some stories and get involved with some other ex-criminals.
Yeah.
And join together and try and build a better community.
Yeah, a lot of people say people are full of shit and that, but like I think there's the movie there. There's a lot of other, like even I had a 20-year-old kid on the last episode, and I think even the boys that were doing the producing behind there, they were like, oh, these stories are a bit G'd up. But then you go onto their social medias or you go and watch Romper Stomper, and I'd never seen him my whole life.
Yep.
I actually talked to my mate Woody Tajul last night, and he goes. Oh, mate, Romper Stomper's a fucking great movie. It's a cracking movie. Go watch it. And I watched it and I was like, what the fuck? Like, these guys were crazy. So,
but it led to me being, shackled for most of my jail sentence. That 27 years, I lived in shackles most of my life. And, with the squad. So there'd be an X on the wall every 3 metres. My head would have to go from that X to that X to that X to that X to go out to the yard or wherever, So, yeah, it's just a shit way of living,
Yeah, don't do any crime.
No crime.
Anything else you want to... Look at... 1 second, can I just get this? He's rocked up with fucking pages of notes. He goes, mate, we can touch on all of this.
Yeah, that's all the stuff I've been pinching.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this a book, bro?
No.
7,
that's
8.
That's just a brief 5 minutes of my life.
Holy fuck, bro.
But that's everything. I've got paperwork too. From bashing screws outside, glassing and bashing governors outside, the police, being shot, you name it.
Mate, I'm honestly surprised that you're actually free from prison, but congratulations from it.
No,
and
thank you.
All the best to you in your life, bro. You're doing amazing things. Thanks for coming on Project 23.
You're welcome.
Cheers, mate.
You're welcome.